What up, y'all? I'm Jonathan Stein. Today, we're going to talk about making subs. Starting with sine waves, different ways to saturate them, maybe adding a kick to the sample so you get that fluffy punch front. Let's just see what happens. We're just messing around. I got a clean slate here. I just pulled up an operator. We're going to keep it very, very simple today. And honestly, we're going to be trying some things that I don't normally do. So no promises in the end result, but I'm just going to go ahead and put in a nice low C. Yeah, that'll be a nice way to start. Let's hear that. Nice, that's just a low C, one of my favorite notes. I think it's around 33 hertz or something. I've got a spectrum on my master here and I can just go right to the peak. 32.6, yeah, it's a beautiful low note. So right now this operator is pretty simple. It does already have a good amount of filter drive. I like to have my default one already have about 12 dBs. If it was just a pure sine wave, one, it's a lot quieter, and it literally is just a single overtone. So I mean, it just has to be quite crazy dark. But I can turn it up like that. My sub is just literally shaking my room right now, and that's really nice. But as you know, this is nothing new. You definitely want to saturate your sub so that you get higher harmonics. That sounded pretty good too. Nice, you can see a little bit is added up top, not much. This is definitely where it starts to get good. And also when my room starts to shake, that's pretty cool. And we could go all the way up to 24, even with just the filter drive within the operator. And now it's just a whole different type of sub entirely. It's like very opaque. Definitely find a nice middle ground there. Cool. And of course we could get rid of the release too. Make it much shorter. So that's one way to saturate your subs. Another way, I've talked about this, is definitely with glue compressors. Soft clip, make sure this is on. Let's just get rid of this for now so we can focus on what this does. This has a nice distorted sound. It's definitely a little different from this one. Let's compare. Maybe a little buzzier. But definitely gets you into a nice territory of sound. And it's always good to kind of mix these with some EQing too, so that you get that fluff and fuzz and thickness from saturation, but you still have that low end fluffiness. Yeah, that kind of thing. And my sub's very happy about that. Cool. All right, so we've talked about using the filter drive in here. We've talked about using glue compressor. And now let's move on to, we're just gonna go through all these options in drive and color. Dynamic tube, I used to do this a lot. This has a really cool effect when you add noise to your sub. This kind of thing. By the way, another great way to add noise to your sub, or to anything, is with erosion. It's kind of a really similar effect to what I just did with the adding this oscillator. Yeah. You can really change the tone of it too. So now we're gonna add drive on the tube. Cool. The tone thing has a big play in this for sure. It does this cool fizzly thing with the noise. It like makes it flutter. It's very interesting. I definitely exploited this on my track back in the day called Fiewas. You'll notice as the note gets lower, the flutter will change too. So this is a pretty subtle distortion. It might not be the most like intense one that you could find, but it'll do something. Yeah, cool. All right, next one is just straight up overdrive, classic. with this one you have a lot of tonal control, which is great. Anywhere from what you put as the input, to the tone knob, to the amount of drive. I'd say this would be really good for like a short, thumpy one. This kind of thing. It's great for these type of subs. Yeah. And once again, I would definitely add low end to make sure it stays fluffy. Yeah, now we're talking. That feels really good in this room right now. Nice, that's really working. Just for bonus, we could add some chorus to make it wide. Yeah, that sounds good. And then we could even keep the low end mono. That's always helpful. Use some of that warmth too. Another way to saturate right there is use just the straight warm mode on some of these pedals like chorus and flanger. All right, we're gonna keep going. Let's take a look at saturator. Yeah. I'm gonna turn off this drive so we can focus on this. And now let's just see where we're at with the default saturator. Yeah, that's the sound. You notice with some of these drives that it'll only drive above a certain threshold, whereas something like overdrive will saturate the whole signal no matter what. So sometimes ones like this, tube, glue compressor, are very sensitive to the envelope. Like you saw, as soon as it went below that threshold, the drive completely stopped. I think if you turn this down, that'll undo that so that it's always capable of driving. This also has a soft clip, nice. Cool, we got the chorus on still. Yeah, these are fun subs. Ooh, yeah, that got good. Yeah. So I think this moves the focus frequency. And keep in mind, there's lots of other settings here that are all gonna have different qualities. Now, I'm really no expert on what all this stuff means. I'm kind of fumbling, basically improvised style just for y'all, but I'm kind of learning as I go. Let's keep going with these hard curves. Nice. Wow. We're getting some great results here. For me, this is the standout mode so far. This is definitely a cool discovery. Digital clip. So all these are different ways of clipping. You know, at the top, when something gets limited, it'll take that sine wave and flatten it into different shapes. And that's basically what's happening right now. But keep in mind, we have an insane amount of drive. And we also have a soft clip as like a final touch to all of this. So that's without the soft clip. Okay, cool. And this last one, wave shaper. This one's pretty fascinating because you kind of get to make your own custom wave. Let's experiment with some of that. Such as, oh yeah, this is great. God, these tones are amazing. Yeah. Seems to add like a chaos to the sound. Can't quite pinpoint what that does. Okay, so that seems to do something right at the center point. Whew. soft clipping on afterwards. It just adds that extra layer of frizzle. Okay, interesting. This like turns it diagonal. These are great tones. Cool. Period seems to add a chatter and makes it noisy, which obviously I like. Nice. And all this is amplified, of course, by adding this low fluff. Otherwise, you like the much more tenory sounds. All of a sudden, it sounds like a sub again. Cool. All of that sounds amazing. So why don't we just work with what we got? I'm just going to show a fine little touch here. I'm just going to pull up a bass drum. I'm not going to overthink it. Yeah, that's totally fine. I use a lot of decaps drums. It's no secret. So I just put that in right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get these to just kind of blend together. Like the kick is too bright for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut that down. Even if it's just like that. Maybe I'm going to tone this down a bit. That's interesting. Do we want to bring back the noise? Maybe a little bit longer on the release. And another thing I could do is I could also make the attack of the sub slow so the kick has some room up front. This happens a lot with subs. Yeah, this kind of thing. There we go, that's great. Woo. Now I just gotta get the blend right. Maybe less of the kick still. Cool. All right, I'm gonna do something bold now. I'm going to open up a new channel. I'm just gonna resample. Here we go. And there it is, that's my sub. Look at that weird looking thing. It's probably not a very functional sub because of this weird like fizzle out moment where the saturated sound just doesn't even know what to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this into a simpler. And here it is. Okay, there it is. We made a very weird sub, not quite what I expected. It's definitely cool. It's not the perfect sub, but you see the potential here to kind of make any type of go-to, whether it's like a very deep, fluffy one or a very scary, intense one, and also mix it with that kick impulse sound. It's very easy to do and fun to do with this process. I mean, you could usually start with a sine wave. You might want to experiment starting with a triangle wave or a saw wave, anything. And just use these sound design tools to get something good. Make a single note sound good, flatten its audio, put it in a simpler, there you go. So that's all for this time. Thanks so much for watching. Much love, y'all. Stay creative, stay swaz. Love y'all. See you soon.
Check it.